The question has always been, are we alone? But what if the universe itself is conscious? It seems impossible, I know, but new, hidden clues, ignored by most conventional scientists, are being revealed, and they point to a truth that could shake everything we know about reality. Because perhaps, when we look up at the stars, we are not just observing matter, but rather witnessing a form of cosmic intelligence that lurks behind the vastness of space. For centuries, ancient civilizations have spoken of a living force that permeates everything. From Egypt to indigenous tribes, from sacred books to forgotten manuscripts, there are records of a universal consciousness that thinks, feels, and observes. This idea, considered spiritual or mystical, began to gain traction behind the scenes of modern science. Today, renowned quantum physicists ask themselves, what if the universe is, in some way, vivo? We're not talking metaphors. We're talking about real patterns. Patterns that have been observed in computer simulations, images captured by telescopes, and data hidden behind complex equations. A recent study, deliberately ignored by the big headlines, has shown that the structure of the visible universe closely resembles disturbing to the human brain. Networks of interconnected galaxies like synapses. Flows of energy that seem to obey a logic that cannot be just random. Coincidence, or hidden proof that we are immersed within something much larger, something conscious? The ancients called it the spirit of the world. Today, some dare to call it the cosmic mind. Meanwhile, in the academic world, voices are beginning to emerge that risk their reputations by asserting the unthinkable. We are not just inside the universe. The universe is inside us, and it is she knows that we exist. If this is true, and the evidence is beginning to line up in disturbing ways, it means that everything you think, feel, or believe may be being recorded, sensed, interpreted, as if we were trapped inside an immeasurable consciousness, which reveals itself little by little, when we are ready to see it. But who defines what readiness means? Why is this evidence being censored? And why are we only now beginning to hear these voices that speak of a universal intelligence? What else is being hidden? What other data is being kept from the public? Is there a line between what we are allowed to know and what is kept silent so as not to cause a collapse in what we call reality? This question, is the universe just matter, or is it also mind, has been debated by the greatest thinkers for centuries, and today it returns with more force than ever. What was once treated as philosophy or spirituality is beginning to be taken seriously by scientists who, faced with enigmatic cosmic patterns, can no longer ignore the possibility that there is a consciousness behind everything. Renowned researchers in quantum physics report phenomena that defy the classical laws of reality, particles that know they are being observed, experiments that produce different results depending on the observer's intention, coincidence, or hidden proof that the universe responds to something beyond matter. Physicist John Wheeler, mentor to none other than Richard Feynman, once said, "Perhaps consciousness is a fundamental ingredient of the universe." Imagine this, a cosmic structure where thought shapes reality, where everything that exists vibrates at a frequency of perception, of intention, of intelligence. The theory of a conscious universe is not only fascinating, it's frightening. Because if it's true, it means that space isn't just vast and silent. It may be observing, interacting, sensing, and maybe, just maybe, trying to communicate with us for much longer than we imagine. Imagine a cosmic brain, pulsating on unimaginable scales, where each galaxy is like a living cell of a universal mind. This is the essence of the theory of cosmic mind, a hypothesis that is gaining traction not only among mystics and spiritualists, but now also in laboratories and scientific research centers. What seemed like a poetic metaphor is slowly becoming a suspicion based on data. Structures in the visible universe, mapped by supercomputers and advanced telescopes, show a striking resemblance to human neural networks. The filaments of dark matter and the connections between galaxy clusters are organized in a manner almost identical to the synapses in the brain. This is not just a visual coincidence. It is a functional geometry that intrigues astrophysicists around the world. They ask, how could the universe have evolved to reflect on an infinite scale the architecture of the human mind? This pattern doesn't just appear once. It repeats itself, like a fractal echo, at different levels of reality, from subatomic particles to cosmic superclusters. There is a hidden symmetry, as if an invisible intelligence has left its fingerprints scattered throughout the fabric of space-time. The burning question is, are we simply projecting our own minds onto the cosmos, or are we beginning to realize that the mind was already there, all along, waiting to be deciphered? Because if the universe works like a brain, then perhaps it thinks too. Science, however skeptical and rational it may be, is beginning to face something it has always avoided: the inexplicable. And we are not talking about distant theories or esoteric speculations. We are talking about data, evidence captured by highly precise equipment, coming directly from the most advanced telescopes and particle detectors spread across the planet. In recent observations, cosmic phenomena have begun to show behavior that simply does not match what would be expected in a purely mechanical, random, and indifferent universe. There are patterns, reactions, and, most frighteningly, signals that seem to respond to stimuli with a type of disconcerting coherence. Scientists from the KIME project, for example, detected fast radio bursts, the so-called FRBs, coming from the same point in space with intervals that follow a kind of precise cadence, as if they were coded messages. There is no known natural source that produces this type of signal with such regularity and complexity, and it doesn't stop there. At CERN, the world's largest particle physics laboratory, there are unofficial reports of fluctuations in collision experiments that appear to vary according to solar patterns and even factors linked to human consciousness, such as focus and intention during the measurement sessions. It may sound absurd, but some are risking their academic reputations by claiming that the behavior of certain particles changes slightly when they know they are being observed. The famous double slit of quantum physics is just the tip of the iceberg. Many physicists have already reached an uncomfortable conclusion. The universe may be actively participating in the observation. One of the most respected researchers at the Max Planck Institute even declared, "These results challenge everything we believed about causality. There is no way this is just chance. What's at stake here is not a simple statistical anomaly. It's the possibility that there are hidden layers of reality, dimensions where entirely new laws operate, connecting matter, energy, and perhaps consciousness. That changes everything. If there are coherent, even subtle, responses to seemingly random phenomena, then we are dealing with an invisible force that organizes, responds, interacts. And when science starts to stumble upon clues so strange that it doesn't even know how to name them, it's because something is about to be revealed. Something that could show that the universe is not just a stage on which events unfold. Maybe it's a character, or worse, the author of it all. And it is precisely here that science finds itself faced with a profound dilemma, perhaps the greatest of all time. How can we prove the existence of consciousness when everything we know as consciousness is based on human parameters? Our instruments, however advanced they may be, were created to measure mass, speed, frequency, energy. But how do you measure a thought? How do you calculate an intention? When we talk about the possibility of cosmic intelligence, we enter a territory where the very logic of science begins to fail, because it demands observable, repeatable, controlled evidence. But how can we demand this from something that may be beyond the very concept of linear time, or that may manifest itself in ways that we are not yet able to recognize? Telescopes see light. Detectors record particles. Algorithms decipher patterns, but none of them were designed to capture signals from a mind other than our own. And that is why so many scientists, even the most daring ones, prefer silence to risking hypotheses that sound more like fiction than science. But these silences are becoming increasingly loud, because intelligent phenomena, those that defy known laws and behave as if they had a will of their own, keep appearing. And what was once considered an isolated anomaly is now cropping up in different areas of research in different parts of the world. Something is trying to tell us something, and maybe, just maybe, the difficulty lies not in finding the answer, but in accepting that it is already in front of us. And while modern science hesitates before the inexplicable, trying to decipher what escapes formulas and numbers, there is something that ancient civilizations already seem to know and accept with an almost sacred naturalness. For them, the universe was never just a cold mass of stars and planets. It was alive. It was spirit. It was mind. The Egyptians called this cosmic consciousness Ma'at, the divine order that governs the cosmos with wisdom. For the Hindus, the universe is Brahman, a supreme, eternal entity present in everything, that thinks and manifests itself in every atom, in every breath. And in the indigenous traditions of South America, the Great Spirit is not out there, far away, but in everything, in the stones, in the trees, in the sky. It is an intelligence that feels, that creates, and that observes in silence. The Bible also echoes this insight. In the Gospel of John, it is written, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." This word, the Logos, is much more than a word. It is consciousness, it is information. It is the primordial vibration that gave rise to all that exists. And if this is not a description of a conscious universe, then what is? In ancient Vedic texts such as the Upanishads, we find statements such as Tat Tvam Asi, you are that, a reminder that we are not separate from creation, but extensions of it. And even in the most ancient African cultures, the concept of a unifying life force is present, the Akse, the Ori, the connection between mind and cosmos. All these traditions from such different times and peoples point to the same ancient enigma. There is a mind behind the universe, and we are connected to it. Now imagine, for a moment, that everything we call self, our thoughts, emotions, desires, is not the center of everything, but just a tiny part of something infinitely larger. What if our mind is just a cell, a conscious neuron operating within a gigantic, living, pulsating cosmic network? This hypothesis, which was once seen only as philosophical poetry, is now beginning to intertwine with the most recent discoveries in neuroscience and astrophysics. Because just as a single cell does not comprise the entire body, perhaps we, as individuals, are also incapable of understanding the whole of which we are a part. This is the paradox of self-awareness. We believe ourselves to be the observers, the thinkers, the protagonists, but what if, in fact, we are just the thoughts of a greater mind? What we call free will, intuition, or inspiration may be nothing more than resonances of universal consciousness touching our personal frequency. Just as billions of synapses form human consciousness, billions of individual consciousnesses could form what many call God, Source, living universe. This idea appears in esoteric traditions, in apocryphal texts, and even in certain modern interpretations of quantum mechanics. We are inside something that thinks, dreams, and expresses itself through us. And this consciousness, while inhabiting us, also observes us, guides us, and mirrors us. We are not isolated. We never have been. We are conscious fragments, vibrating within a cosmic organism that breathes with the stars and feels through our choices. And this feeling of belonging to something greater is not just theoretical. It is experienced, felt, and witnessed by thousands of people around the world. There are many reports of individuals who, in altered states of consciousness such as deep meditation, near-death experiences, or even in controlled sessions with entheogenic substances, claim to have accessed a kind of universal mind. In these moments, they describe not only peace or ecstasy, but something much deeper: a silent, telepathic communication, coming from an invisible presence that seemed to be the universe itself. Some say they felt the universe talking to them. Others report that they received answers before even asking questions. How can this be explained? A collective hallucination, activation of specific brain areas, or a true connection with a higher intelligence that lives beyond our five senses? Science, especially quantum physics, is beginning to encounter these phenomena. Quantum entanglement, for example, shows that particles separated by vast distances can sense each other instantaneously. This shatters all known notions of space and time. If subatomic particles can be connected at such an intimate level, why couldn't we also be connected to a greater consciousness, flowing beyond what we can perceive with our ordinary senses? Studies are now being conducted that analyze changes in the brain's electromagnetic field during these expanded states. And the results, preliminary as they are, point to consistent patterns, as if the brain were tuning into an external frequency, something larger, something that vibrates with the cosmos itself. If the universe is truly conscious, then everything you think, feel, or do is being felt by it, and that changes absolutely everything. We are not just passengers on a cosmic ship drifting through the void. We are active participants in an invisible dance where every thought, every emotion, every intention reverberates like a note in a universal symphony. Have you ever stopped to think that that moment when you felt a strong intuition, as if something greater was trying to guide you, might not have been a coincidence? What if it is not just your mind, but the mind, the cosmic consciousness, whispering through you? Mystical traditions have always told us that everything is connected, that as above, so below. And now, even science is beginning to suggest that this ancient wisdom may be speaking of a much deeper truth than we imagined. Think about it. Every choice you make, every energy you emit, may be contributing to a larger field of collective consciousness, no longer just spirituality, but physics, neuroscience, quantum biology, all converging on one bold hypothesis: the universe feels. And if it feels, then it also responds. Everything you think is hidden in your innermost thoughts may never have been private at all, because if we are part of a conscious system, then our very existence is a form of communication, an ongoing dialogue with something invisible, ancient, and unfathomable that pulses between the galaxies and also within our own chests. And if all this is true, if we are truly immersed in a universal consciousness that perceives us, influences us, and embraces us, then perhaps the most important question is not, what is the universe? But rather, who are we within it? Every thought can be a ripple that echoes in the fabric of the cosmos. Every feeling, a frequency that subtly alters the harmony of the whole. And if this greater consciousness is present, listening to us, feeling us, then we have never been alone. We have never been disconnected. We have always been part of something much greater, deeper, and more mysterious than we can comprehend. The connection is already there. The question now is, can you feel it? If you've made it this far, it's because you feel something different awakening within you. So do the following. Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss the next video, where we'll talk about the breath of the universe, an ancient phenomenon that may have given rise to everything that exists. If all this made sense to you, leave your like now, because that helps spread this message to more people. And in the comments write, "I feel the connection." This phrase is not just an answer, It's a sign that you're part of something much bigger. And now, continue the journey by clicking on the next video that's appearing on the screen. See you there.